All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to begin with our state expedited accusation calendar. This is a list of cases in which individuals have been charged with criminal misdemeanor offenses. Upon being booked at the Fulton County Jail, the prosecutors have already formally accused the defendant of one or more misdemeanor charges. This would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. I will be addressing each of your cases on a one-on-one basis. I will let you know what is your accusation number, what are the charges brought against you, appoint counsel to represent you, and to give you a bond, and also a court date where relevant. Now, I can see that we have courtroom 2, courtroom 3, South Annex present with individuals there. So if you please heed this advice. These are criminal charges brought against the defendants. So when I address your case, please remember that you have a right to remain silent about the facts of your case. Anything that you say during the course of this virtual proceeding, which is not only recorded but live streamed, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney if you cannot afford one. One will be representing you either from the public defender's office or from our conflict defense list. As I understand, most of the defendants have had a chance to speak with the public defense or their respective attorneys. So am I beginning? Where am I beginning? South Annex, courtroom 3, courtroom 2?
Your Honor,
Judge, please. Thank you.
And Your Honor, the state would request that we address position 1, Osceola Carter first. We do have Deputy Michael Lynch here, and he is currently not at work at this time. We actually pulled him into this hearing so that we could get this addressed first.
All right. Courtroom 3, who do you have?
Position number 2, Ms. Cason, please.
Okay, and where is position 1, Carter, Osceola Carter?
Courtroom 2.
Is that Mr. Carter in the front seat?
Yes.
All right. Courtroom 3, I'll be with you shortly. Okay, we are addressing case number 22 CR 004-702Y, State versus Osceola, Shoshan, Carter. Mr. Carter is charged with driving while license suspended or revoked, knowingly driving on a suspended or canceled registration and no insurance from a July 20th, 2012 incident. And Mr. Carter, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be, is it going to be Ms. Kim or Ms. Cook? Ms. Cook?
Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason we have Officer Lynch present?
Your Honor, this was a case that was handled by citations, and due to our last interaction, we have Deputy Lynch here in an abundance of caution. However, the state would like to make an argument prior to Deputy Lynch's testimony.
Go ahead.
So the state would argue that Deputy Lynch's testimony is not necessary for the determination of probable cause, as there was an accusation filed under both 17-7-70.1. The state can prefer accusations over other methods of charging. And if we look to another statute, which is 17-6-42, that does clearly, 17-4-62, that does clearly state that we do not require a full adversarial hearing be held following a warrantless arrest, as this is, but merely seek to ensure that an arrest and continuing detention is reviewed by a neutral fact finder within 48 hours of the defendant's arrest, which, Your Honor, is the neutral fact finder. And we believe that a probable cause determination would be a full adversarial hearing, which is unnecessary, being that the state has filed an accusation in this case.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cook? Anything to add?
No, Your Honor, I don't have a response. I'll leave it up to determination.
All right. If the state wishes to proceed with this case under the accusation, they have the absolute right to do so. But without the warrant or without a determination of probable cause at the initial appearance, The only option the court has under the US Supreme Court case of Riverside is to issue a signature bond through the jail with no restrictions. Is that the option that the state would like to proceed with?
And again, the state would put on the record that this is not a Riverside issue. However, we do have Deputy Lynch here to testify.
All right, thank you. So I guess we're proceeding with our Officer Lynch then. All right.
That is
Now,
correct.
Officer Lynch, the only thing you have to establish is probable cause. We're not looking at a full blown hearing on the merits of the case. All right, Officer Lynch, if you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear? Is it Officer Owen Lynch?
No, this is Michael Lynch, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Officer Michael Lynch. Excuse me, I have an Owen Lynch as well. Okay, Officer Michael Lynch, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
All right. I see that you had issued a police report and you had issued the uniform traffic citations. Could you please state your name and your position with your agency?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Sergeant Michael Lynch with the Fulton County Sheriff's Office Traffic Safety Unit.
All right. Ms. Falk, did you want to direct the officer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Sergeant Lynch, at all times relevant to this case, were you post-certified under the Peace Officer Standards and Training Act?
Yes, ma'am.
And did this event happen, the event that you're about to discuss with the court, happen in Fulton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to take you back to July 20th, 2022 at approximately 4:17 p.m. Can you tell me about the stop that you effectuated on this defendant and what you observed?
Yes, ma'am. I was traveling I-20 westbound near Fulton Industrial Boulevard when my automatic license plate readers alerted on a Georgia tag, which was his vehicle. It advised me that the vehicle's registration was suspended. I confirmed it by running it on my in-car GCIC. The car's registration was showing suspended with no valid insurance, and also the tag was expired. It also gave me back the registered owner's information on his driver's license, and it was showing suspended for several failure to appears.
And just to, not to interrupt you, Sergeant Lynch, but was the registered owner Mr. Osceola Carter?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay, can you tell me what happened after you ascertained that the tag, the registration was in fact suspended?
Yes, ma'am. I initiated a traffic stop on the ramp, the Fulton Industrial off I-20 westbound. I exited my patrol vehicle, made contact with Mr. Carter. As I was talking to Mr. Carter, he advised me that he had a handgun beside his right leg. While I was standing there, I also smelled the moderate odor of raw marijuana emitting from the vehicle. I went ahead and pulled Mr. Carter out of the vehicle and went ahead and detained him due to his license being suspended.
Okay, and how did you make the determination that the defendant's license was suspended?
It automatically gave me the returns on once I ran the tag and the registered owner. It gives me his returns as well, and it was showing suspended. And Mr. Carter asked me why he was being detained for. I told him that his license were suspended, and he admitted that he knew that they were suspended.
And I believe that's all the questions the state has for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cook, anything to response?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, I find probable cause for the charges of driving while license suspended or revoked, knowingly driving a motor vehicle on a suspended, cancel, or revoked registration and no insurance. This probable cause is established at the initial appearance based on the testimony of Officer Michael Lynch, and that will be noted on the release orders for Mr. Carter, or at least his bond order. Officer Lynch, unless Deputy Prosecutor Falk would like to have you remain at the hearing, you're otherwise free to go.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize about my appearance, Your Honor.
That's perfectly fine. Ms. Falk, do you need him to remain at the proceedings?
No, Your Honor, he is free.
All right. You enjoy
Thank you,
the rest of the
Deputy.
day, Officer Lynch. Thank you very much for appearing.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Falk.
All right. As the court has found probable cause for this misdemeanor charges, Mr. Carter, as I've said, your attorney is Ms. Cook, and Mr. Tucson, any priors on Mr. Carter?
This is ninth arrest. 2019 suspended license NOD. 2014-2015 suspended license conviction. 2012 suspended license NOLO.
Thank you. Ms. Falk, what's your recommendation for bond?
Your Honor, the state's recommendation is a $5,000 surety bond. That's going to be $4,000 on the driving while license suspended and $500 on each of the remaining charges. The reason the state is making that recommendation is due to, as pretrial has pointed out, the defendant's abysmal track record regarding driving while license suspended, as well as his numerous FTAs. One of the things that the deputy pointed out was that the license for this defendant was suspended for multiple FTAs. I believe there were 5 in total, and as well as previous convictions for suspended license in 2012, 2014, 2015, and a null prost charge in 2019. There's also a giving false name in 2015. So based upon that, both the FTAs, which show that he is a flight risk under the IALA factors, as well as the multiple driving while suspended license, which shows a risk of reoffense. He's been reoffending on the same charge now for 10 years. We believe that this bond is fair and reasonable.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cook?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Carter, actually, my understanding is that pretrial did recommend him to be on unsecured judicial release. He's currently not on probation. We would argue that he's not a danger to the public. A remedy to the state's concern would be a special condition of bond not to drive any motor vehicles without being properly licensed. He's 30 years old. He is gainfully employed. He has been working with Entertainment Partners, which is like a movie set entertainment company. Whenever, of course, when COVID hit, that did put a dent in his employment, but he's been with that company since 2017. He's lived here in Georgia all his life. He's 30 years old, currently has a home in Dallas, Georgia. He's a high school graduate. We would be asking the court at this particular time to grant an unsecured judicial release on his behalf. We don't believe that these charges are so significant that he would not come back to court. We think that he'll be able to have good contact information, good email, a good mailing address. No reason to believe that he won't be in contact with our office so that we can get these resolved. In fact, he has a plan to pay any outstanding matters to get his license reinstated, or to figure out if it is truly, in fact, suspended, to take care of that issue. So we're asking the court to give him an unsecured judicial release at this particular time.
All right.
Your Honor, the state did omit that the conditions of no driving unless both his title, his registration, and his license are valid. We are also asking for no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. As for Ms. Cook's contention that the defendant knows now not to drive based on Your Honor giving a condition, I would say the 4 previous driving while suspended licenses should have put him on notice, and he continued to drive it in disregard of that.
Oh, well, I agree with the state. His repeated violations of operating a vehicle clearly shows a pattern of reoffending. And the fact that he's got a history of failure to appear as well disqualifies him from a signature bond. On the driving while license suspended or revoked, the bond's going to be $2,000. The other 2 charges are going to be $750 each. His total bond is $3,500. It is going to be a surety bond. Condition to the bond is no driving, no operating any motor vehicle unless he has a valid current driver's license, adequate automobile insurance, and proper registration for the vehicle being operated at all times. He's not to consume any illegal drugs, and he's only allowed to possess a weapon or a firearm. He has the appropriate license to do so. That concludes this case. Oh, the next court date. Is it Miss Bridgewater or Miss Champion? Miss Champion, do we have August the 5th or something like that?
It's August the 4th, Your Honor.
August the 4th, okay. His next court date is going to be August the 4th. If he makes bond, we will send him a notice for another court date. Mr. Carter, is Etowah Drive your current address in Dallas?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right, if you make bond, notice will be sent to that address, and please make sure that you keep up with your notices. Failure to appear will result in a bench warrant being issued for your arrest. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, he has a expired no registration charge as well. So
I've
Your Honor, it's my
got,
understanding that was
That,
dismissed.
that charge, a notice of dismissal was filed as to that charge, and we did file that both with the clerk of court and send that to the jail.
okay. So he's only got 3 charges, no insurance, registration, and driving license suspended. So the 4th one should have been NOD'd.
Gotcha.
All right, thank you. I'll be back with courtroom 2 in quick, as soon as possible. Courtroom 3, Sarge, who do you have?
I have position number 2, Ms. Kaysen, please.
All right. Tia Michelle Kaysen, charged with simple battery domestic violence in case 22 CR 004-699Y. Ms. Kaysen, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Cook. And Mr. Tucson, any priors?
A 4th arrest. Last was 2019 theft by shoplifting. That's 21 CR 003-246Y. I think it's a dormant bench warrant.
Okay.
She don't have any violence that I saw. She just got shoplifting in her history.
All right, thank you. Ms. Falk?
It's Miss Sally.
Oh, Ms. Sari? Okay.
Hi,
Ms.
Your
Falk.
Honor.
Yes, okay.
This incident took place at 942 Hank Aaron Drive,
Oh,
Southeast.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Ms. Sari, is your video? We do not see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay.
All right. All right. Very bright light, and there you are. Thank you very much. Okay, and you were saying?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place at 942 Hank Aaron Drive, Southeast in Atlanta. Officers responded to this incident location regarding a child abuse call. The cross defendant in this case, her initials are BC, and she is a minor. She's the daughter of the defendant. The cross defendant informed officers that she was in the kitchen preparing food when her mother, who is the defendant, came into the kitchen and started an argument. The cross defendant then said the defendant struck her multiple times in the face, arm, stomach, and back. The cross defendant then pushed the defendant away and ran out of the apartment to call 911. When officers spoke with the defendant, she informed them that the cross defendant had been disrespecting her, and that's why she walked into the kitchen. And she said that the cross defendant called her, quote, a bitch and a hoe, and started to punch her. With no independent witnesses, both parties were detained. Your Honor, the state's recommendation in this case is a $2,000 surety bond, no contact with the cross defendant, a stay away from the incident location if the cross defendant is in fact still living there, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
All right. Ms. Cook?
Thank you, Your Honor. My understanding from pretrial is that the recommendation is an unsecured judicial release. She is 34 years old. She is a lifelong resident of the Atlanta metro area. She has 6 children total, ranging from the ages of 17 down to 6. She is employed at Westin Hotel and hoping to keep her job should she be able to get out in the very near future. As my understanding that there was a hearing today in juvenile court related to this matter where the juvenile admitted that she lied about the report, and they intend to give her additional community service for that. As far as the stay away, the incident location is my client's home residence where the other kids also reside. We would be asking the court to grant an unsecured judicial release. As it's my understanding, my client doesn't have any valid history. This particular minor's, my understanding, is a 15-year-old, and my understanding of the factual basis, Your Honor, is that the mom took her cell phone away as a form of punishment, and the daughter just got really upset and acted out, and that's why we're here. My client denies any physical, denies punching her daughter at all at any point, and again, she is presumed innocent. These are just simply allegations against her. We are asking the court for unsecured judicial release. If you were to put some conditions on it, Your Honor, we would say no violent or harassing contact with the victim, as that is her daughter. And I believe in juvenile court, they do have a plan in place to get this matter resolved. So that would be our request.
She's got $1,000 surety bond in her other case where the bench warrant has already been executed and she's right now in custody. So would she be able to make the other bond?
I am not certain of that, Your Honor, but we could definitely, if not, reach out and try to get her some services to get out as soon as possible.
All right. On the Tia Kaysen matter is $1,000 surety bond. No further violent contact with Brianna Kaysen. She may have contact with Miss Brianna Kaysen in accordance with any juvenile court order or any defects protocol in place. No alcohol, no drugs, no weapons, and we will reschedule both cases, this particular one, as well as the 21 CR 003246Y to the August 4th.
And Your Honor, I'm sorry, I did not mention, can we impose a one-day anger awareness course?
I will do that, but only if it's done through pretrial. So the anger awareness program is only monitored through pretrial. So
Okay, well,
it's a surety bond. I'm going to
Okay.
leave it as it sits right now.
Thank you. Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Kaysen, you have $1,000 surety bond in this particular case, and you have $1,000 surety bond in your other open theft by shoplifting case. If you don't make bond in both cases, then we will see you on August 4th with regards to both cases. Thank you.
Next case, position 3.
We have Gregory Donnerson charged with criminal trespass from July 15th, 2022 in case 22 CR 004-714J. Mr. Donnerson, your attorney is Ms. Cook, and Mr. Tucson, any priors?
15 total. Last was 2019 obstruction. Hold on, that was dismissed. 2018 trespass, obstruction, disorderly conduct conviction. That was out of the DeKalb State Court. 2017 shoplifting arrest. Obstruction, giving false name, bond over from 2017. Out of Fairburn. Got a 2013 battery, 2, 3, and 4 counts of crude 10 and third conviction.
All right,
That's out of Fulton County.
Got it. Thank you. Ms. Sari, what's your recommendation for trespass?
Yes, Your Honor, the recommendation is the bond is currently set at $1,500 surety. We're asking for it to remain as set with conditions of staying away from the MARTA located at 30 Alabama Street in Atlanta, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Your Honor, briefly, this defendant kicked the glass door of the MARTA bus and caused it to crack. As we've heard from pretrial, he does have a history. He has criminal trespass guilty convictions, one in 2013, one in 2018, a disorderly conduct in 2018. He is a violent offender. He has a battery from 2013. So he does present a risk of reoffending. Nothing further.
Ms. Cook?
Thank you, Your Honor. It's my understanding that, again, in this case, pretrial did recommend that or agree that he met the conditions for unsecured judicial release. He's not currently on probation, doesn't have any prior failure to appear within the last 2 years, no open cases. Despite his criminal history, Your Honor, I would argue that with the condition of staying away from the incident location, I believe that would be sufficient to, and he has no issues. We talked about him staying away from MARTA. He has no issues with that. He's been in the Atlanta area since 1999. He does have 3 children. He has a good job with DHL supply chain that hopefully he can keep should he be able to get out of custody. He is a high school graduate. We do have good contact information. He has stable ties to the community. So we would be asking Your Honor to grant an unsecured judicial release in this case.
All right, thank you. The bond is going to be set at $1,000 surety bond and to stay away from all MARTA property, no alcohol, no drugs, and no weapons. Next court date's August 4th.
Next case, position 4.
Mr. Corey Harvey is accused of battery from a July 20th, 2022 incident. Are you Mr. Corey Harvey? Are you Mr. Harvey?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Case number 22 CR 004715G. Mr. Harvey, your attorney is going to be Ms. Cook. And any priors, Mr. Tucson?
His third arrest, last arrest was in March, Homestead, Florida, suspended license. Bench warrant for suspended license and no driver's license. I guess the bench warrant came off of a September 2019. That's it.
Is it a Fulton County case?
No, this is out of Florida,
Florida? Okay.
Miami and Homestead.
Hmm.
I don't know how long he's been here, but this was just recent.
And you said the last arrest was March of 2022 in Florida?
Correct.
All right, thank you. Ms. Sari?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place at 1845 Ridgeway Avenue Northwest in Atlanta. We don't have the full report, but per the warrant, the defendant grabbed the victim, whose name is Tanisha, that's Taneesha, last name Jones, who is his girlfriend. He grabbed her by the neck with one hand and drug her across the ground. The defendant also poured vinegar over the top of her head, and the victim suffered a bump on her head. Your Honor, with these allegations, even with the defendant's history of 3 arrests, he handled this victim like an animal. And the very nature of this violence, it should be taken into account. Our recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond with conditions of no contact with the victim, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
All right, and okay, I don't see a Miss Jones on the Zoom unless you see one, but I don't see one. So we'll proceed with Miss Cook. Miss Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Harvey completely denies all the allegations against him. And of course, he's presumed innocent unless and until the state can meet their burden of proving this case against him beyond a reasonable doubt. He's not currently on probation. As far as the pending case in Miami, I believe that was just a simple traffic ticket when he went to visit some friends down in Florida that he got. He's been in, my understanding, he's been in the Atlanta area for the last 3 years. He has ties here. He works at a security company at night, also works at Marriott in the hospitality department. We would be asking the court for an OR bond in this case. Despite his employment, we don't believe that he would be able to make a surety bond. So we would be asked if he does have some college as well, no children. He's 22 years old. We would be asking the court to give him an OR, unsecured judicial release bond in this particular matter.
All right, thank you. Given his insufficient ties with the community, as well as the fact that he doesn't have a verifiable address, and in addition to the nature of the allegations, the bond is set at $1,000 surety bond, no further contact with Tanisha Jones. So if he makes bond, I guess looks like she won't be living in his car, according to the warrant. They both live out of his car. So he would need to make sure that he keeps up with the notices by providing a proper email and phone number, since we don't have a verifiable mailing address. He is not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or firearms. His next court date's August 4th. Thank you.
Next case, position 5.
Mr. Jeffrey Jones, middle name Lewis.
Yes, ma'am.
Jeffrey Jones Jr., accused of theft by shoplifting from June 19th, 2022, in case number 22 CR 004711Y. Mr. Jones, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Cook. Any priors on Mr. Jones?
12 total. Last arrest was June 26th. He went to the city jail. Hold on. 2 counts of shoplifting, 1 count possession of drug-related objects. He was also, that was June 26th. He was arrested June 16th for shoplifting, city jail. April shoplifting. He had a shoplifting conviction from March. 2019 trespass. He got probation violations convictions from 2019. Criminal attempt to commit burglary. Burglary first degree. Possession of cocaine. Possession of marijuana less than an ounce.
Was there a disposition in the 29 felony case?
No.
No. No, we'll leave it at
And he
that.
got open cases in car for shoplifting.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Ms. Sari?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place at 2750 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway at the Dollar General. The defendant was seen on camera taking 4 large bottles of laundry detergent from the incident location. Your Honor, as we've heard from pretrial, this defendant does have a significant history of theft. He was just here back in March for theft by shoplifting, which resulted in a guilty conviction. He does have open cases, 1 out of Cobb 3 months ago for theft by shoplifting, 1 other out of Folsom for theft by shoplifting that's still open. He also had a 2014 burglary, which he used his first offender. He has a 2016 FTA, 2019 probation violation. So the state is concerned with his risk of reoffending, him being a flight risk, and to come back to court to answer for the charges, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $4,000 surety bond with conditions of staying away from the incident location, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Cook? I'm sorry,
Thank you,
Ms.
Your
Cook? Yes, please.
Yes, it's good. Your Honor, Mr. Jones is 25 years old. He's been in the Atlanta metro area all of his life. He has 2 children that he has to try to provide for. It's my understanding that Mr. Jones has been in custody since the incident date, which was June 19th of 2022. We will be asking the court at this particular time to give him an OR bond, and should the court not decide to do that, to give him a bond of no more than $1,000, as his income and means to be able to afford the bond is very limited.
So according to the booking screen, he was booked in on May 16th, released on June 12th of 2019. And then he was booked back in the jail on July 20th. So I'm sorry, you say he's been incarcerated with us?
It's my understanding that he was down at in the pretrial area, or not at Rye Street, at a different location since June.
He's at
What
the city
different
jail.
location?
City jail. Okay, I'm sorry. He was at city jail since June 19th.
All right, and was he given a bond at that time?
If he was, Your Honor, I don't believe he was, but if he was, he obviously wasn't able to make it.
It appears that he may have been, because we have a June 26th arrest for theft by shoplifting. So that's subsequent.
I got it.
I'm sorry.
Judge, check the documents. If you
I
check
am
that tab.
looking to see if I'm trying to see what was the bind over.
Hey, Your Honor, I got a question.
When was he booked at the Fulton County, the city court? I don't have the bind over documents from city court. Do you know, Ms.
Which
Shari?
case are you on, Judge?
Whichever case he was at the city court. was it-
Which case are you on, Judge?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jones, Jeffrey Jones.
Okay.
The warrant was issued on June 28th.
City jail.
And Your Honor, there was one warrant taken out on July 20th as well.
Tell me when you got involved with the city jail.
And I believe this case had 2 warrants for the same incident taken out. Correct me if I'm wrong, and one of them was dismissed today.
That's correct. I did dismiss that.
Which warrant did you dismiss, Ms. Sari? Which warrant number?
1 second.
Okay.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
I've been locked up like 2 months. I just came from pretrial yesterday.
Okay.
Judge, what you trying to find out?
I found the warrant for July 20th. I'm assuming the prior warrant was dismissed. So the warrant I have from July 20th is number EW 0371637. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe that's the one that I dismissed
Okay.
today.
And he was arrested on city charges at that time?
Yes,
Asking me?
Ms. Sari, he was arrested on city charges from an arrest from June 26, I believe. June 16, excuse me, June 16.
I have June 19th.
And then he was at the city jail, Tucson, June 16 and June 19 and June 26. What happened?
He was arrested June 16th at the
Mhm.
city jail. He went to the city jail for shoplifting.
Okay,
He was arrested June 26th. He went to the city jail for the 2 counts of shoplifting and the possession of drug-related objects.
all right. So am I assuming that from June 16th, he was released and then re-arrested again?
On June 26th, that's what it appears. And he's probably been there since June 26th.
Which would have
Until
been,
yesterday or whenever. But
all right.
yes.
And then this warrant was issued on July 20th, 2022, as they had dismissed the prior warrant. Okay. Ms. Cook, that is the procedural situation right now. I am not certain, I don't think Mr. Jones has been in custody at the city jail based upon the June 19th incident. It appears that he's been in city jail based upon a June 26 incident involving the city court. Now, they may have citations. Do you have anything else that would show otherwise?
I got my ticket in my pocket.
All right. Ms. Cook, what does the ticket say? If you want to divulge the information or you have a right to remain silent? Do you advise your client?
I would have asked him to remain silent, Your Honor, at this particular time, but my understanding was that he only had that one. That could have just been misinformation and given to me.
All right. So the first warrant that has been canceled was issued on June 28th. He was arrested at the city on June 26th. The only conclusion I can come to is that he had new city charges on June 26th that are unrelated to this case. That's the only plausible conclusion I can come to. If you have something converse, then I would be glad to hear it.
I don't have any, all information I was given was obviously provided by Mr. Jones. I don't have anything otherwise, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Do you have anything else to argue other than the fact that he may arguably have been detained at the jail since June 26? Do you have anything else to add?
No, Your Honor, nothing further.
All right, okay. So, Mr. Jones, unfortunately, you have been arrested quite a few times for different charges, but what is really quite obvious is the numerous theft by shoplifting charges on your record. The bond I'm setting right now is a $500 cash bond only, and you are to stay away from all Dollar General stores, not just the one on Donnelly Hollowell. Your next court date is going to be August 4th. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and firearms. Thank you. All right. Next case, please.
Next case, position 7.
Are you Mr. Kim? I'm sorry. Are you Mr. Carlos Lightsey?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lightsey, your case is 22 CR 004-721H, accused of criminal trespass and fair evasion on July 20th, 2022. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Cook. Any priors?
22 total. Last arrest was May 2nd. FTA for disorderly conduct. Also arrested May 2nd for possession of cocaine and fair evasion. Case number 22 CP 208750. Before that was 2014 probation out of Cobb. 2013 trespass, 2012 probation, Cobb. Another 2012 probation. 2012 battery conviction out of state court.
That's good. Thank you. Ms. Tortello.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tortorella. Okay, yes, Ms.
All right.
Tortorella. Welcome back. It seems like you don't have a break from C calendars.
No. For the criminal trespass charge, we're asking for a $500 surety bond, and for the fair evasion charge, a $500 surety bond. So we're asking basically for the $1,000 surety bond that's already in place to remain the same. To stay away from the incident location, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law while he's out on bond. On July 20th, 2022, while patrolling the MARTA Ashby Station at 65 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard in Atlanta, the incident location, in plain clothes, Officer W. Point du jour observed a male later identified as the defendant, Carlos Lightsey, push through the fare gates to avoid paying the MARTA fare. The officer approached the defendant with his MARTA police badge and announced, quote, MARTA police, end quote. Defendant was asked for identification and he could not provide it at the time. Defendant was placed in handcuffs and escorted to the staff room for further processing. A MARTA suspension search was conducted in which it was found the defendant had an active MARTA suspension issued on May 2nd, 2022, took effect June 1st of this year and expires at the end of this month on July 31st. The defendant was arrested and these events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, we're asking for that surety bond. He, like you've heard from pretrial, he has an open felony case, 22 CP 208750 for possession of cocaine, fair evasion. Again, it occurred on May 2nd, 2022. He was granted a $2,000 surety bond on the cocaine charge and a UJR on the fair evasion. It's implied by Georgia law that the defendant not violate laws while out on bond. Therefore, he is in violation of his felony bond order currently. He also has 22 cycles. From what I've heard, he currently just FTA'd this year on May 2nd, and he has a couple of VOP charges, violation of probation charges, one in 2014 and one in 2012. So for that reason, Your Honor, we do fear that he is a flight risk. He poses the risk of reoffending and not only committing violations, Your Honor, but felony violations while out on bond. So for that reason, we do feel that the $1,000 surety bond already set is more than reasonable. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Cook?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Lightsey is 52 years old. He's been in the Metro Atlanta area all of his life. He does have, is my understanding, he does have an address to go to, which is his grandmother's house located here in Atlanta. My understanding is he's been working as a commercial mover since 2019 with Beltman Moving Locations. Despite his employment, Your Honor, he's not able to financially afford any type of surety bond. What he's charged with, criminal trespass and fair evasion, the purpose of bond, again, Your Honor, as Your Honor is well aware, is just to make sure that he comes back to court. I understand that he does recently have a failure to appear, but we do have good contact information from him. We've discussed it, and we would just be asking the court to give him an OR bond. He can't afford to pay anything.
On the criminal trespass is 500 surety. On the fair evasions of 500 signature bond through the jail. His total bonds are $1,000 split bond. To stay away from all model property until all suspensions have been resolved. Next court date is going to be August 4th. Thank you.
Educated position 10.
And Your Honor, as soon as you finish with that one, we have the conflict, is position 6.
Okay, thank you. And I'm so sorry, courtroom 2, could you repeat the case number again of position?
Position 10.
10, thank you. I have Otis Ponder, accused of criminal trespass from July 20th, 2021. Mr. Ponder, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Lynch, is that correct?
No, this is J. Kim.
Ms. Kim? Okay.
Yes,
thank you.
Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Tucson?
16 total. Last arrest was June
This
20.
is rainwater.
Mr. Ponder, we will have a right to say something, but right now I want to hear.
No, that's the officer. That's the officer. I thought they waived Ponder's appearance.
That's what I thought too, however.
That's
he's
the
here.
rainwater.
This is rainwater in front of you right now.
Is that Otis Ponder?
No, rainwater.
Oh,
All right, that's position 11 on our calendar, so I do beg your pardon. Are you Dalen Rainwater?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry about that. Mr. Dalen Rainwater is position 11 on the calendar, and his case number is 22 CR 004725F. And Mr. Rainwater is charged with simple battery against a police officer, theft by shoplifting, and 2 counts of obstruction of a law enforcement officer. The 4 charges brought against Mr. Rainwater are based upon the accusations filed and the warrants that were issued. This is stemming from a July 20th, 2022 incident. Mr. Rainwater, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Mr. Tucson, how many priors on Mr. Rainwater?
54. Last arrest was in February, failure to appear. On probation, possession of cocaine, possession of marijuana less than an ounce, and shoplifting. It's 20 SC 174214. 2020 shoplifting, probation violation 2020. More probation violations, 2019 failure to appear. Let me see. I saw 04 simple battery conviction. He got something from 2014 too.
That's fine. I think 2019 onwards, it's enough. Thank you. Miss Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor. We're asking for the total bond to remain as set, which is a $5,500 surety bond. The breakdown would be for the theft by shoplifting, a $1,500 surety bond. For the simple battery against a police officer, a $2,500 surety bond. For each obstruction charge, a $750 surety bond, which would give a total of $5,500. No contact with the victims. The victim is Jay Watson. Stay away from the Chevron at 2111 Campbellton Road Southwest in Atlanta. one-day anger management, a theft class, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, on July 20th, 2022, Officer Jay Watson of the Atlanta Police Department responded to the Chevron, the incident location in Atlanta, in reference to a theft. Upon arrival, dispatch gave a description of a black male wearing a red shirt and tan pants. The officer was driving on Campbellton Road and saw a man sitting, fitting the description, and made a U-turn. Officer Robertson, the other officer at the scene, was en route traveling westbound on the road and saw the same male. Officer Robertson pulled his patrol car over and got out, trying to stop the male, and a chase started. Eventually, Officer Robertson equipped his taser and ordered the male to stop, and the male complied. Both of the officers placed the suspect in handcuffs and walked him over to Officer Watson's patrol car. The officers then found 4 unopened cans of Margarita, which are alcoholic beverages. And for the record, that's M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, Gorita. Officer Watson then drove to the incident location and spoke to the caller, Mr. Kareem Sharafat. For the record, it's Karim as in Mary, last name is Shar as in Robert, Afat, who provided video surveillance footage to the officer. The officer observed the male sneaking his way into the back of the store in a crouched position to the beer aisle. The video footage showed the male grabbing 2 cases of beer and walking out the door. The officer asked the suspect's name, and he gave a name of Quincy Barge with the date of birth of August 23rd, 1975. Another officer, Officer White, noticed the defendant and provided Officer Watson with the defendant's correct name of Daylon Rainwater, date of birth September 23rd, 1977. On the way to jail, the defendant was unruly in the back of the officer's patrol car, and the defendant threatened the officer that he was going to spit at him. Eventually, the defendant did spit at the officer on his face and back. The defendant was eventually arrested, and all these events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, I just would like to bring to your attention that he's being held with no bond for the felony case 20 SC 174214, that for possession of cocaine, possession of marijuana, and theft by shoplifting on a violation of probation, for specifically for, and the warrant states, failure to report and failure to advise the officer of a dress change. It's an outstanding warrant. And for that reason, Your Honor, not only for that reason, but just based on his criminal history with the various FTAs already stated by pretrial, this state has concerns that this defendant is a flight risk. He also has 53 cycles, so he definitely poses a risk of reoffending while out on bond and committing felonies while out on bond. So for that reason, Your Honor, we do feel the bond of $5,500 in surety is more than reasonable. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Skip?
Yes, Mr. Rainwater is 44 years old, and he has 3 children, 14, 12, 11. He is currently married, and he has been working really hard as providing laundry service for hotels near Fairburn, Georgia. He's been doing that for about 8 years, and he has been working to provide financial support for his family. He's the sole breadwinner for his family, and he has graduated from high school. He has a very stable address in Sandy Springs. So we would like to request for a signature on bond, since he is not a flight risk. He has a ties to the community. He's been here for all his life. However, due to the previous charges, if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request for the maximum $500 for theft charges, and then another $500 for simple battery against police officer, and $250 for each obstruction charges. We would like to request for $1,500 surety bond, because his financial means are very tight right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. On the simple battery against a police officer, that's going to be $1,500. The shoplifting is going to be $1,500. That's going to be a $3,000 surety bond. The obstruction is going to be $500 each. That's going to be a total of $1,000 signature bond through the jail. The total bond is a $4,000 split bond. out of which he would need to pay on the $3,000 portion to stay away 200 yards away from the Chevron at 2111 Campbellton Road in Southwest Atlanta. Have no further contact with Mr. Kareem Sharafat, no further violent contact with law enforcement, and no alcohol, no drugs, no weapons. His next court date will be August 4th.
Thank you,
And
Your Honor.
I don't know when is his probation hearing. He has a probation hold in the outstanding felony case. Thank you. Next case, please.
South Annex, Your Honor, position number 6 for the conflict.
And Your Honor, we'll be requesting a breakout for that case. It involves MH issues. Also, Your Honor, I believe the victims are on the line as well on the Zoom hearing.
All right. We are addressing Kim Lewison, 22 CR 004726E. And Ms. Lewison has been accused of simple battery against a person who is 65 years or older or pregnant at the time of the offense, simple battery, domestic violence, and criminal trespass from a April 22nd, 2022 incident. Ms. Lewison has been advised of her right to remain silent, and her attorney is going to be Mr. Lynch. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lynch, based on your interview, do you request a breakout as well?
I'm happy to participate in the breakout room.
All right. Everyone else who is involved in this case, if you please be patient, we will address you shortly. Mr. Jordan, if you could place Ms. Falk, Mr. Lynch, and is it going to be Ms. Sowry or Ms. Tortorello?
Ms. Tortorello.
Ms. Tortorello in a breakout, please.
Your
That's
Honor,
what-
may we also request that ASG Evan Dudley and ASG intern Terrell Roberts be present as well?
All right, Mr. Jordan, if you could place Evan Dudley and Terrell Roberts, all of us in a breakout room, please.
Let me
All right, we have returned from the breakout room in conference with both defense counsel as well as with the prosecutor. And based upon the information that we have discussed, this is the court's order. On the simple battery against a person who is 65 or older, the bond is going to be set at $1,500. The simple battery domestic violence is $500, and the criminal trespass is $500. That's a $2,500 surety bond. Reset date is going to be August 4th. The conditions to the bond are no contact with Alexandria Swan, no contact with Deborah Swan, and to stay away from 800 Glen Royal Drive in Roswell, Georgia. And she's not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or firearms. In addition to that, Ms. Lewison is going to make sure that she's compliant with any kind of medication or treatment that she's currently receiving. As I said, her next court date is August 4th. Thank you.
Escape position 12.
And Mr. Lynch, please reach out to the Public Defender's Office with the resources we discussed and to see whether MH Court will take her as well.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I will do that.
Thank you. Do you have any other cases for us?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right, well, you're free to stay if you want to.
I'll stay.
In the rainy afternoon. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Good to
Judge.
see you, Attorney Lynch.
Good to see you as well.
Sorry, courtroom 2, repeat the name. Was that Mr.
Sutton, position 12.
12, okay. Oh, okay, got it. I have Michael LaRue Sutton, a case number 22 CR 004716E, accused of battery, domestic violence, theft by taking, and hindering a person from making an emergency phone call. This stems from an incident of November 3rd, 2021. Warrants were issued from that incident, and Mr. Sutton, you have been advised of your right to remain silent. Anything you say, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Toussaint?
16 cycles. He don't have any violent convictions that I saw. Last arrest was 2015 probation out of Gwinnett. 2015 failure to appear, not prosecuted out the cab. 2014, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 counts of battery DV, 1 count disorderly conduct that was dismissed out of DeKalb County. 2013 misdemeanor possession of marijuana, NOLO. 2009 probation for marijuana.
All right, thank you. Ms. Duncan?
Yes, Your Honor, the incidents alleged in this incident occurred at 617 Parkway Drive, apartment 101 in Atlanta. The victim in this case is a Mrs. Marcia Sutton. We have it as Marcia Sutton, Sutton. Mrs. Sutton is the past spouse of the defendant in this case. Your Honor, in this incident, officers were dispatched to a domestic dispute at the location already on the record. They arrived on scene and they were able to speak with Mrs. Sutton, and she stated that her ex-husband had came over to deliver money for their children. And while he was delivering the money for their children, an argument ensued about the money. And during the course of that verbal altercation, it became physical when the defendant in this case hit Mrs. Sutton in her face, causing a visibly swollen lip and a visibly bruised nose. Further, from the police report, it is indicated that Ms. Sutton stated to officers that there were 4 kids in the location, and that in addition to him hitting her in the face, when she attempted to call 911, he snatched her cell phone out of her hand and left the location and did not return after that. Given those facts and circumstances, Your Honor, the state has a concern about the risk of reoffending here. I did make some calls and investigate that 2014 domestic violence family battery. And even though it was dismissed, it was against the same victim in this case. And so we believe that that shows a pattern of violent behavior towards this specific defendant. And we have a concern for the intimidation of this victim witness because at one point they were married, and obviously there's a risk of reoffense when they deal with each other. This shows us that he might have some violent tendencies towards her. And at any rate, there had to be probable cause to make that arrest, even though it was dismissed. We also have additional concerns that this defendant may be a flight risk, as pretrial stated. There are several probation violations as well as recent FTAs on this defendant's record. Given the nature of the offenses alleged and the other factors present in this case, as far as risk of reoffending and the flight risk, the state is going to request a $7,000 total surety bond. That's $5,000 for the battery, family violence, and $1,000 for the hindering a person from making an emergency phone call, and $1,000 surety for theft by taking. And the state does understand that this defendant may be recommended for pretrial release or unsecured judicial release, but we are concerned that this is a big issue for this particular defendant, given that he has showed that he will not return to court, and he has shown that previously he's given officers cause to arrest him for violent behaviors against this same victim. Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Duncan. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Mr. Sutton is actually 40 years old, and he is not a flight risk because he has been here in Georgia for 40 years. And now, after about 9 months later, maybe 8 months later, they now have 5 children, not only 4 children, but 5. They are still married. They actually reunited, and they are living together. They are happy and they're fine. They moved on from this incident that happened a long time ago. He has been employed as an air conditioning licensed repair person. For the last 10 years, he has had secure jobs, and he also has a bachelor's degree for science as well. He served Navy from 2002 to 2005, and he knows how to be responsible, how to take care of his children as well. And we would like to request for signature on bond as pretrial services recommended for UJR. We believe that he's qualified. Please, the 4 cases were dismissed, and we would like to request for signature on bond. Thank you.
If I may, Your Honor, to correct the record, my apologies, I forgot the state's additional conditions. In addition to the $7,000 surety, we'd like a no further contact with the victim. Our office was not able to make contact with the victim, and out of abundance of safety, that's what the state will be requesting. If there are any minor children out of the ones in which they have together, we'd ask for a third-party contact. Stay away from the incident location, as our records indicate in the warrant and the police report that that is her location and that they did not live together. A one-day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kim, so I'm a little perplexed. I don't see a Monica Sutton on the Zoom, so I really don't have any way to verify this information. Second of all, the warrant says that that's his ex-wife, so I'm assuming there was a divorce.
Actually, my client says there was no divorce. They were going to divorce, but then they reunited, Your Honor.
Okay, so if they have reunited or reconciled or remarried, I still don't see Ms. Sutton here to verify this information. Okay, and then problem number 1. The alleged incident is Parkway Drive, and I have a different address for the defendant. So I'm assuming they have separate housing.
That's our understanding, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And the third thing is you indicated now that there's a new child born this year?
Yes, one is 1 year old. Yes.
1 year old. So
yes.
Before the incident occurred?
Yes. After incident occurred, I believe.
This incident occurred in November, so if there one, it would have had to have been.
Probably previously, sorry. I don't know.
On or about. Okay. Okay. On the battery, domestic violence is going to be $3,500. The theft by taking is going to be $500. And the hindering a person from making an emergency phone call is $1,000. Total bond is set at $5,000. It is a signature bond through pretrial services. Mr. Sutton, I'm going to give you a signature bond through pretrial services, which means that you will report to pretrial once a month, and you would have to comply with its conditions. Failure to comply with the conditions will result in a bench warrant being issued and you being your bond being converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. The conditions are as follows. No further contact with Monica Sutton.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, it's Marcia Sutton.
Oh, I'm sorry, with Marcia Sutton. No further contact with Marcia Sutton. To stay away from the 617 Parkway Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, or wherever Miss Sutton lives. You cannot return to that location. I will allow for third-party transfer of the children. In other words, if you want to see the children that you share with Miss Sutton, there would have to be a neutral third party to go pick up the children, bring them to you, and then return them back to Miss Sutton. Understood? No illegal, you're not to consume any illegal drugs, no weapons and no firearms, and no alcohol. While you are out on a signature bond, you will enroll and complete a domestic violence or family violence intervention program at your expense. You will enroll in that program within 30 days of being released. That means by your second visit to pretrial, you must confirm that you are enrolled and have begun taking classes with domestic violence, with the domestic violence program. These are weekly classes and you must complete them. And you will report to pretrial to indicate your progress with those classes.
Your Honor, may he please have may we have reserve the right to modify the bonds when we can have contact with Marika Sutton?
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, but she would need to appear and testify accordingly.
Yes.
All right.
Understand that. Thank
All
you.
right. So as soon as he's released on the signature bond, he has 30 days to update his address if it's, unless it's still, I have a Gateway Point. I don't know whether that's where he still lives.
He can stay at 595 Gateway, Your Honor, and he needs one-time law enforcement officer escorted visit to take his
Previous
personal
belongings?
Yes.
All right. All right. I will allow a one-time visit to the Parkway Drive location. Mr. Sutton can go to that location one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings. That visit cannot exceed 2 hours.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right.
Next case, position 13. Position 13.
Mr. Carlis Taylor, case number 22 CR 004-717F, is accused of criminal trespass on July 20th, 2022. Mr. Taylor, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Tusa?
No.
Mr. Tucson, any priors?
16 total. Last was February. Failure to appear for trespass. He had a felony terrorist threats out of DeKalb County in 2021. It just says accusation. December 2020 trespass on Martyr. January 2020 trespass. 2019 trespass. Another 2019 trespass, no-load.
That's good. Thank you. Ms. Duncan, just briefly, what's the bond recommendation?
In this case, Your Honor, there is a preset bond of $500 surety. However, it's going to be the state's recommendation to increase that bond to $1,500 surety. The state also recommends that the defendant stay away from the incident location in this incident, which is the Lenox Square Mall located at 3393 Peachtree Mall Road in Atlanta. Your Honor, for the record, in this incident, the defendant is alleged to have entered the Lenox Square Mall after being trespassed from that location. On this particular day, there was a Atlanta police officer working an extra approved drive, and Officer Petrov. He was notified by mall security that there was a known trespasser identified as the defendant. causing a nuisance in the food court area of the mall. He was told to leave several times, and the police officer noted in the report that Officer Petrov himself had personally given this defendant a warning as far as not to come back to the property and to stop making disturbances on July 14th, 2022, under case number 2219-51067. And at that time, he did say to the officer that he understood not to come back to the Lenox Square Mall property. He was arrested and taken into custody in the food court parking lot. And as we can see from today, the defendant continued to return to the Lenox Square Mall. We have a concern about the risk of reoffense given this defendant's aggravated history with criminal trespass. As pretrial stated, there are at least 4 convictions in the last 5 years for criminal trespass, and most of those are multiple occurrences at the same locations. So we have a concern about the risk of reoffense, and there is a slight concern for the state because there is a recent FTF from February 2022, which also was on a criminal trespass case. And so the state is going to be recommending that $1,500 surety increase to stay away from the Lenox Mall, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further from the state.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Mr. Taylor is 39 years old, and he has been here in Georgia for the last 26 years. And he does have 2 children. However, he does not have anybody else who can bond him out. He has no employment at this point. He has graduated from high school, and yet he needs a behavioral health evaluation. So we would like to request for social worker services visit him to have a BHET evaluation and get out of the jail as fast as he can. However, if your honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we would like to request that $500 straight bond remains as is.
All right. Thank you. Bond is set at $1,000. It's a surety bond. He is to stay 200 yards away from the entire property of the Lenox Mall area. And if he returns to that location, his bond will be revoked. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no alcohol. Thank you. Next court date's August 4th.
Next case, position 14. What they gonna do? No.
August 4th is your next court date.
Position 14.
Yes, sir. Rondell Treywick is accused of. Are you Mr. Rondell Treywick?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Treywick, you're accused of driving without a valid license and striking an unattended vehicle from August 7th, 2021. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Mr. Howard?
34 total. Hold on.
Do you have his motor vehicle record by any chance?
No, I didn't pull it. I'm sure the state has it.
All right, let's focus on his MVR. Ms. Duncan, do you have his motor vehicle record?
Yes, Your Honor, I do have his motor vehicle record. However, his criminal record does also have some motor vehicle violations and convictions as well. His
Any
motor
license issues?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and tell me about those.
Okay, in this case, Your Honor, I just want to first note for the record that his driver's history indicate that the defendant in this case, Mr. Rondell Treywick, is not licensed. His licensing has been denied since 2010 when it was surrendered in Illinois. So he is not currently licensed and has not been, according to his driving history, since 2010. According to his criminal history, he has significant history out of Illinois, 32 cycles. Of those is a 2014 driving without a suspended license conviction. I'd like to note that on that file, it did have an SOS for failure to pay. In 2016, there's a 2014 resisting the peace officer, but there's an additional driving without a suspended license. There's a driving without a suspended license driving with a suspended license, 2016, and a driving without a valid license in DeKalb County in 2011. The state in this case has a particular concern for the risk of reoffense, given that this defendant has shown a pattern of disregard for the rules of the road being that his license has been denied since 2010, and according to his record, he's continued to drive without valid license insisting. In relation to this case, Your Honor, it did occur on August 7th, 2021 at the Lucky's Burgers and Brews located at 114 Alpharetta Street in the city of Roswell. On that date at around 8:13 p.m.
Oh, I've already read the warrant. I was just more interested in this motor vehicle record.
Yes,
but-
I understand, but for the record, Your Honor, I'd like to place the facts on the record.
Very briefly, so he was at this burger place and what happened?
Yes, he was at this burger place and he collided with a parked vehicle. It was a silver Toyota Sienna while backing out of a parking space that caused damage to the right back quarter panel of said vehicle. The defendant was witnessed by an independent witness of Mr. Carl Barreaux, Carbreaux, who advised officers that he was sitting outside with his family. And at the time he heard a loud bang, he looked over and saw the vehicle that was later identified as the defendant striking another parked vehicle, the Sienna, as mentioned, while backing out of that parking spot. He indicated that the defendant then stopped on the other side of the parking lot and continued to move forward to the front of the parking lot where another Black female passenger got out and got into another vehicle, and they both left the scene. The registered owner of the vehicle was identified as the defendant in this case. And furthermore, the restaurant manager identified that the defendant in this case had just left the facility because there was a ticket for food. And she showed officers where that defendant was sitting at the time. The wife of the registered vehicle owner that was damaged came to the scene and she confirmed that the damage to the vehicle was new. The independent witness took pictures of the tags of the cars involved, as well as the the damage to the cars. And officers noted that there was broken clear glass on the ground where the collision had occurred. All the photographs were sent to the officers.
Okay, yeah, that would be the brief summary.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Given that, Your Honor, like I said before, we have a concern about risk of reoffense. We also have somewhat of a concern about his ties to the community. We concerned that there may be insufficiency there because most of his cycles come out of Illinois, and possibly that he is a significant danger to the community, given that he is continued to drive without a license at this point, and he has flight risk because he's currently wanted out of
Henry County. Yeah,
Henry County for larceny, and we're unsure if the second hold is the same one as this one. So there are two currently on his criminal record. So we'd ask for a $3,000 total surety bond. That's $1,500 per. There is none set for the driving without a valid license, but there was a $1,500 surety set for the driving while striking an unattended vehicle. We'd additionally ask for there be no contact with Aaron Temples, who is the owner of the vehicle that was collided with, or his wife, and stay away from the incident location, and no driving unless valid license, insurance, registration, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no further violations of Georgia law. Nothing further.
Right. Thank you. And will that gentleman please be seated? Thank you. No, he doesn't want to hear his bond. Okay.
I would like to.
Yeah, Miss Kim, let's go
Yes.
ahead.
Yes, Mr. Treywick, he is 44 years old, and he moved from Chicago, Illinois about a year ago because he married and he came to live with his wife. They have one child and 4 stepchildren, and he has a stable job here in Georgia, and he must apply a company. He works at a warehouse for last 1 year. He graduated from high school, and we believe that he was probably in Illinois when this happened on August 7, 2021. My client did not recall this accident, so we would like to see what's going on. He is presumed to be innocent. We would like to request for the maximum $1,000 surety bond total together. Thank you.
Right. On the driving without a valid license is $1,500, striking an unattended vehicle is $1,000. Total bond is $2,500. It is a surety bond. No driving unless he has a valid and current driver's license issued by either the state of Illinois or the state of Georgia or any state in the United States. He has to have adequate insurance and proper registration for the vehicle that he operates, and to stay away from the Lucky Burgers in Roswell, Georgia, as well as have, well, he's going to have to communicate with the owners of the vehicle in order to resolve insurance issues. So I'm not going to institute that. All right, thank you. Next court date is August 4th.
To clarify, Your Honor, you said it's $1,500 for the driving without a valid license and $1,000 for the striking an unattended vehicle?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Stay away from the Lucky Burgers in Roswell, Georgia, and no driving at all.
And that's surety court.
Yeah, that's the surety bond. Reset date is August 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that's all we have in courtroom 2. May we be excused?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Y'all have a good week. Thank you very much. All right, I understand that we waived the appearance. I'm sorry, we may have some folks at South Annex, so that's
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, please.
Position 8, Miss Mulligan.
Mulligan.
Got it. We have Megan Mulligan, case number 22CR004722F, accused of simple battery, simple assault, and criminal trespass. Ms. Mulligan, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
This is a second arrest. 2010 DUI. It was NOD.
Thank you. Ms. Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor, and just to advise, the victim is present in the Zoom hearing. So if he would like to speak, Your Honor, I would let you do that.
Thank you. He just needs to turn on his video. Remain mute, but turn on the video. All right, you may proceed, Ms. Tortorella.
Yes, Your Honor. For the simple battery charge, a $5,000 surety bond for the simple assault, a $3,000 surety bond for the criminal trespass, a $1,000 surety bond, and the total will be $9,000. And that would be a good bond. The conditions is that she have no contact with the victim. That's Mr. Matthew Osterhott, and the last name is spelled O-S-T-E-R as in Robert, H-A-U-D as in dog, T as in Tom. For the defendant to stay away from the incident location at the Shell gas station, 890 Atlanta Street in Roswell. Other conditions is 1-day anger management, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, on May 14th, 2022, Officer Basco of the Roswell Police Department was dispatched to the Shell gas station at 890 Atlanta Street in reference to a female assaulting a male. Upon arrival, the officer spoke to the reporting party, a witness, Kayan Vasig. For the record, that's K-E-Y-A-N as in Nancy. Last name is V as in Victor, A-S-S-I-G-H, and the victim, Mr. Osterhott. Also, the officer spoke to the eyewitness and I believe the manager of the Shell's gas station, Mohammadi Madoui. And the first name is M-O-H-A-M-M-A-H-A-D-I. The last name is M-A-H-D-A-U-I. The case was eventually transferred to a Detective B. Heath, who took over the case on May 24th, 2022. He was able to view the surveillance footage of the incident with audio. The video shows Mr. Osterhott walk into the store as two females are following him. The first female was directly behind Mr. Osterhott and kept continuously yelling, quote, "or what?"
Yeah, I've got the lingo.
As she followed, Your Honor, if I may put the facts on the record.
Just summarize it, please. Okay?
I am.
So there was a verbal altercation, and what is the basis of the simple battery?
So, Your Honor, the reason why I believe we need to put what was stated on the records because the state is looking at this as a hate crime as well. And I will tell you that as to why in a minute. Right. So she followed the victim and the store towards the front desk. The female was later identified as the defendant, Megan Mulligan. Mr. Osterhott at one point turned around and yelled at her.
Verbal obscenities, yes.
Verbal obscenities. The defendant responded again, or what? The defendant yelled, road rage, you stupid MF. And she told him she ran the county. The argument continues, and video further shows the witness attempting to get the defendant and the other female, Ms. Schultz, outside. Mr. Osterhott can be heard telling the defendant he could smell alcohol on her breath, and that is when the defendant pushed him back toward the drink coolers and said, "Am I driving?" multiple times. The defendant then started to walk towards the exit and said, "You," and I have to quote, "you stupid motherfucking queer, get the fuck out of my face." The defendant yelled once more for Mr. Osterhott to get out of her face while she was.
I'm sorry, Ms. Tortorella, what's the basis of the hate crime? Can you please explain that to me?
Your Honor, when she first approached the victim, she started saying that he was a queer and a faggot. Then while she was inside the store, she continued saying these terms at his face, and the victim is okay with the state stating this is gay. So for that reason, Your Honor, we are looking at this as a hate crime.
Okay,
So
there's an allegation as to his sexual orientation and profanities, and that's the basis of sex.
And the fact that she kept instigating it, she kept coming back, she kept harassing him, then pushing him, putting her hand around his throat. This was witnessed by one person, and the footage also shows what occurred. Your Honor, the other thing is criminal trespass. Mr. Mohammadi actually blocked her from coming back inside, and she actually pushed him out of the way, and then went back inside to continue to harass the victim in this case, Your Honor. And for that reason, we're asking for that surety bond. We are very concerned. This happened because of a traffic situation. She followed the defendant to the gas station, Your Honor, and then she continued with these actions. This could have happened to anybody, Your Honor. So for that reason, we are asking for that surety bond of I believe it's a $9,000 surety bond with the conditions already stated. Nothing further.
And I agree with the latter part. That was a brilliant summary. We don't have to go through a blow-by-blow account of the warrant. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Cook.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Megan Mulligan is 33 years old. She has significant ties to the area. She's been in Georgia all of her life. I have great contact information for her. As you've heard from pretrial, she doesn't have a lengthy criminal history at all. She's not on probation, no prior failure to appears, no open cases pending. They recommended her for unsecured judicial release. She's employed. She's a patient coordinator at a dermatologist in Alpharetta. She's been with that, been employed there for over 5 years. She's a high school grad. As far as the factual basis, Your Honor, the purpose of bond is not to get into the facts of the case necessarily, but because the state did a lengthy detail, my client, when we talked about it, she asserted to me that she was acting in self-defense, and she denies any and all allegations as it relates to her being the primary aggressor in this case. We do agree that this does arise from some sort of traffic situation, but not on my client's behalf, more so on the complaining witness behalf, and that he was the one who initially approached them in the vehicle and they were responding. They're females, he's a male, and she does not know him. Other than, I guess, her seeing him on Zoom, he's a complete stranger to her. So for those reasons, Your Honor, we believe that you putting a condition on her bond, no contact with him, or stay away would be more than sufficient. For these charges, we are asking the court to grant her an unsecured judicial release because, again, she does meet the IALA factors as it relates to ties to the community. Risk of reoffending, we believe, is low. We believe that those conditions will more than adequately cover the concerns.
All right, thank you. Mr. Osterhard, if you have something to add, I'll be glad to listen to what you'd like to say. It would have to be under oath. You also have a right to not add anything. What would you like to do?
I don't mind just saying a word.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
I just think acts of aggressive homophobia and racism, they can't be tolerated today. I think that, a lesson needs to be learned. I don't know what that is, but, she was shouting racist things at the gas station owner, talking about get out of my country. We're all American. So I just want a lesson to be learned here. I don't know what that is, but that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cook, anything else to add?
Again, Your Honor, the purpose of bond is to ensure that my client will show up for court and that she's not a risk to herself or others and not a risk of reoffending or committing any additional crimes. I believe that her criminal history suggests that the only other prior arrest was from 2010. We're currently in 2022. So again, we will reiterate the purpose of bond. We feel that she meets all the factors and will be asking the court for a secure judicial release.
Thank you. On the simple battery, it's going to be a $2,000 surety bond. On the simple assault and criminal trespass, it's going to be $1,500 each, and that's going to be a signature bond for pretrial. The total bond is $5,000. It is a split bond. Her next court date is August 4th. If Ms. Mulligan does make bond, then she will be reporting to pretrial every month, and a failure to report will result in a bench warrant being issued. If she gets arrested again, then the $3,000 portion of a bond will be revoked and converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. No illegal drugs, no alcohol consumption, no weapons, and no firearms. No contact with Matthew Osterhard. She has to stay 200 yards away from him and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner, including in person, through a phone, computer device, or even on social media. She's also to stay away from the Shell gas station at 890 Atlanta Street in Roswell, Georgia, and not have any contact with the employees of that Shell gas station, including Mr. Mahadi. As I said, her next court date is August 4th. If she does make bond, then she will receive a new court date, and that would be sent to her address. And we presently have that as in River Falls Drive. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Right. So Ms. Mulligan, you would have to pay for the $2,000 portion of your bond through a bonding company, and then the remaining will be reporting to pretrial. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Osterhard. You're free to go. I have Janiqua Norfleet. Is that correct? Deputy Milton?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm representing Ms. Norfleet.
All right, thank you. Ms. Norfleet, can you hear me? Ms. Norfleet, can you hear the judge? Can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Ms. Norfleet, your case number is 22 CR 004-723G, in which you've been accused of battery from February 27th, 2021. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Cook. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Who are we on? I had to step away.
Position 9, Norfleet.
It's a third arrest. Last was 2020 out of Detroit. It just says traffic offense. 2016 assault excluding sexual out of Flint, Michigan.
Out of Flint, Michigan?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Ms. Tortorella?
Yes, Your Honor, we're asking for a $4,000 surety bond for the battery charge. The conditions is that she have no contact with the victim, Shea D. Doe. The first name is spelled C-H-E-A, D as in dog, E-E, and last name is Doe, traditional spelling. For her to stay away from the incident location at 267 Marietta Street Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. One-day anger management, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. Your Honor, in this case, on April 27, 2021, the defendant, Ms. Janiqua Norfleet, did intentionally cause substantial physical harm to Ms. Doe by pulling her hair and scratching her in the face, which resulted in leaving scratch marks on Ms. Doe's face. These events occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. Your Honor, we have some concerns that she'll reoffend while she's out on bond. She's a multi-state offender, from what I've heard from pretrial, as well as she had an assault arrest in 2016, and we do have concerns of the public, Your Honor, public safety. We were able to speak to the victim. She said she's never met the defendant before. It was the first and last time she's seen the defendant. She does not feel like the defendant is a threat to her. But the fact, Your Honor, that there were complete strangers and this happened is a concern. So for that reason, we are asking for that $4,000 surety bond. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Cook?
And I do apologize. My internet went out, so that I did not hear everything the state said.
Well, they wanted $1 million in bond and she stays in jail forever. So.
Your Honor, Ms. Norfleet is 28 years old. She is the mother of 4 children. She is my understanding she works as an IT worker and also does some social media influencing. She is a high school grad, has 2 years of college. She has a brick mason certification, a CNA certification. So she's definitely shows herself to be a productive member of society. She does have a home in Douglasville, Georgia. She when we went over the information, she has no idea who the complaining witness was. It's unknown to her, and even the location at Embassy Suites, she believed that this may be some sort of mistaken identity because she doesn't even recall being at the Embassy Suites on this particular day. Your Honor, for those reasons and given her very limited criminal history, we are asking the court to go along with pretrial recommendation for unsecured judicial release. We feel that it would be satisfactory to put a condition from the stay away from the incident location, as well as a no contact with the victim. Again, she would not know her if she were to see her anyway. So
thank you. And Ms. Tortorella has put in her recommendations in the chat to you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The bond's going to be set at $3,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. She's to have no contact with Shade Doe, DOE. Stay away from 267 Marietta Street in Atlanta, Georgia. And while she's on the signature bond through pretrial, she will report to pretrial once a month. She also cannot afford to get arrested again for anything else. She will complete a 1-day anger awareness program with pretrial services. No illegal drugs, no alcohol consumption, no weapons, and no firearms. The next court date will be sent to her at her address, and the address that we have on the system at the present time.
I believe that the spelling of the street, Your Honor, is incorrect. I think when I went over it with her, it said Carrington. It should be Warrington Drive.
All right, so it's 160 Warrington Drive in Douglasville?
Yes.
All right. So within 30 days of being released from the jail, Ms. Norfleet will come down to 160 Prior Street and make sure that we have her correct mailing address. All right. And this is at the Fulton County State Clerk's Office at 160 Prior Street. Okay. Ms. Norfleet, do you have any questions about your bond?
Yes, I do. I'm a social media entertainer, and since
Stop. What is your question?
Norfleet, you're in the signature bond. You don't have to.
I'm just asking, like, because I was gonna be leaving the state because I don't know what's going on. It's a little weird to me, and I was just gonna go with my kids, but so I have to stay here just until I go to court. I just don't know. So I can go pick up my kids.
When are you planning to leave the state?
Well, if I can't leave, I'm not gonna leave. But my kids are in Tennessee, so maybe I can have somebody bring them. I just wanted to know how that works.
When you have an open pending criminal case against you, you are obligated to make sure that we have your current address at all times, so that when we send you notice to come back to court, you would get notice at the last known address that we have on file. So if you leave and you change your address, the first person who should find out your new address is the court. Because when we send notice and you don't show up, we issue a warrant for your arrest. And these warrants go nationwide. So they can be in Georgia, they can be in Tennessee, they can be in any state. It is highly recommended that you make sure that we have your current address at all times so that we can send you notice to the correct address. You can leave the state, you can live in Tennessee if you want, but you would need to travel back to Georgia to report to your court dates. Right now, you have a signature bond, and until we have a good address on you in another state, you will be required to report to pretrial in the manner that they require, that they set forth.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Your Honor, and just, I don't know what's going on with my internet here, but nevertheless, I know why Ms. Norfleet has that concern. It's my understanding that the way that she was arrested on this warrant was because she was a victim of what they call swatting, where someone made a false police report, and because she's on social media, someone posted her address and sent the police there. So that may be some of her concerns about where
okay, understood. That's the defense, and she's got a signature bond. She's released, so she can definitely assist in her defense.
Yes,
during this case. Okay. All right. Thank you. Deputy Milton.
How much was that?
It was a $3,000 signature bond to pretrial. 1 day anger awareness, no contact, stay away. All right. Deputy Milton, we good?
You tell me, Your Honor.
I think we are, unless you have anybody else for me to address. But
Nope.
if not, then I will see you next week, I think. Okay.
I'll call you.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, I understand position 15, Michael Turner has posted bond as an pending release. So his case is going to be further noticed. And we have position Miss Ponder, who has waived her appearance. Mr. Ponder, Otis Ponder, charged with criminal trespass on July 20th, 2022. And case number 22 CR 004724Y. Mr. Ponder's attorney, Ms. Kim, has waived his appearance. And Ms. Tortorello, just tell me the bond amount.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, give me a minute.
This is Ponder, position 10.
All right, Your Honor, I've actually handled his case on an SAP's July 12th. So this name is very familiar to me. He just pled to criminal trespass, and the incident location was the same one. We're asking for the $500 surety bond to remain as set, stay away from the incident location, no drugs or alcohol, no weapons, and no new violations of Georgia law. And for a social worker to visit him and MHET. Your Honor, and I requested a breakout earlier because I'd like to explain the reason why the state's requesting MHET. So I don't know if it's appropriate to be out here.
We can go in the breakout room. Let me go ahead and go over the calendar so I can release anybody else who doesn't need to be on the Zoom, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Position number 1, Carter, is a $3,500 surety bond, reset August 4th. Position 2, Cason's $1,000 surety bond, reset date August 4th. Donnerson is a $1,000 surety bond, reset date August 4th. Position 4, Harvey, is a $1,000 surety bond, reset August 4th. Position 5, Jones, is a $500 cash bond only, and reset date August 4th. And we are, yeah, that's right. 6, Lewison, is going to be a $2,500 surety bond, reset date August 4th. 7, Lightsey, is a $1,000 split bond, and reset date August 4th. Position 8, Mulligan, is a $5,000 split bond, reset date August 4th. Norfleet is a $3,000 signature bond to pretrial, further notice. Otis Ponder is pending. Rainwater, position 11, is a $4,000 split bond, reset August 4th. 12, Sutton, is a $5,000 signature bond to pretrial, further notice. 13, Taylor, is a $1,000 surety bond, reset date August 4th. 14, Treywick is a $2,500 surety bond, reset August 4th, and 15, Turner has posted bond, so it's going to be further notice. All right. Okay.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
When you come back, tomorrow or Saturday?
Monday. Sorry, not Monday. Next week.
Oh. Well, may I be excused?
Yes, Mr.
I'm
Hall.
assuming Ponder gonna be a good bond, so I'll just write my own amount in here. I'll just write in 2,000. It don't matter. Yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Have a great day. Thank you. Ms. Falk, would you like to join us in the breakout? All right. Mr. Jordan, if you could please, Ms. Tortorello, Ms. Kim, Ms. Falk, Terrell Roberts, intern, you're more than welcome to join us. Yay or nay? Anyone else, Ms. Falk? Was it?
No, I have excused Mr. Roberts and Mr. Dudley. I just wanted them to see one breakout, which they have observed.
Okay, all right, all right. So it's just going to be the four of us then. Okay, thank you.
Donna, may I be excused?
Yes, Ms. Cook.
All right, thank
Pleasure. You have a great day.
You as
Take
well.
care.